Coming up next, season 3 premiere of the Three Man Rush podcast. We're back, baby. Football, NFL season preview. Let's go.
Still this time on a three-man rush. Gonna backpedal, buy more time. Gotta be somebody open now, yes? Yes, there is! Like I said, another three-man rush right here.
Hello and welcome back to the triumphant return of America's most beloved casual NFL gambling podcast from a couple of casual, degenerate NFL gamblers. I am your host, Pat Bradley, joined as always by my friends and co-hosts Carl Mann and Tommy Sullivan. And this is the Three Man Rush podcast. Buckle your seatbelts and butter up your bankrolls, boys, because for the next 24 weeks in a row, we are coming at you with either the greatest or the worst NFL gambling advice week by week that you will ever receive. I don't know what else I can say. So without further ado, let me bring in the real stars of this show, Carl, Tommy. Hello, boys. We're back. Let's go.
What up? What up? We're back, baby.
God, I'm so happy.
We're back in a big way, and it couldn't have come soon enough because baseball betting is not my style. So let's get back to the gridiron. College football has been kind to me so far, so hopefully pro football is the same way.
I don't know. Baseball's been okay for me. And only when I don't tweet out my picks. When I tweet it out, it sucks. But when I keep it to myself, it's been really good. So
it's been like treading water. I've definitely, my record is bad, but the ones that I've hit have been the really good ones.
We've had I would say, I mean, I haven't looked at your bankrolls recently. I feel like we've had a pretty good baseball season. I mean, we had a pretty legendary parlay hit back in April.
That's true.
When we were at our dear friend Joe's bachelor party. That was fun. Shout out to Encore Boston and was it the MGM sport? Is it MGM?
No, I think it's I don't even know.
Whatever sport.
It is Win.
Win bet. Why did I say MGM? Win. That's all we did was win. A pretty epic baseball parlay win there, group parlay. We had a lot of fun. You and I did, Carl, in our little New York, Brooklyn trip, betting baseball all weekend. I think we've done pretty well. And then right around the 4th of July, I stopped gambling because everything in my life kind of just turned upside down, to quote one Will Smith, for good cause and good reason. I'm curious, Carl, did you maybe stop? Oh, well, who am I kidding?
Well,
you would never stop gambling.
I mean, I slowed it down a little bit.
Okay.
But,
for the same reason recently, right?
Yeah. And it had nothing to do with success or failures in sports betting. Pat, do you want to share first? Because technically yours happened first.
Okay, well, I'll tell you my good news, and then you tell me your good news, and then Tommy can tell us his good news, and we'll see. Okay. We'll see. All right, this is total surprise. You guys are gonna be shocked. We had a baby. My beautiful wife had a beautiful baby boy.
That's congratulations.
Thank you. Back in July. Yeah, really exciting. Not sleeping.
That's crazy.
Also not gambling for that reason because I'm delusional on top of being a degenerate. Carl, what's your news?
Yeah, mine is not as exciting. Me and my wife also had a baby.
What? No way.
Yeah, a little later than you. Just happened literally 8 days ago from recording this podcast. So,
which is so funny because mine was 8 weeks ago from recording this podcast.
Crazy. And Tommy, your birthday?
Well, I did have a birthday, but I also had some long-term news that was some good news that happened over the summer. Was last summer I placed a long-term bet on the Vegas Golden Knights winning the Stanley Cup, and that came to fruition this past summer. So that was a nice little ticket for me. Go me.
Basically, the equivalent of, I mean, that's your baby now. That was your baby all year.
It was a 12-month gestating period for me, and.
Awesome. Well, listen.
This football podcast has turned into babies, baseball, and hockey. It's real quick.
My bad.
Babies and baseball with the boys for the NFL season. I love that. Great. Well, now that you know that 2/3 of us are not sleeping, Fade, tail Tommy, fade us. I don't really know what the answer is.
Bold strategy.
Listen, I'm trying to defend a title here, so I'm all go. This baby is not going to slow me down.
2-time defending champ. So I guess let's jump into a little previously on the 3-Man Rush podcast. Poor preparation on my part. I guess I just lost the records. I don't have exactly how we did last year.
I know the standings. I can help out with that.
Well, listen, all I know is that I finished on the podium, as did you two. So really, I think it was a great season all around.
You're just trying to do the meme of the guy who's like celebrating, drinking the champagne, giving the finger, and then it like spans out and he's at the bottom.
Quite literally, I am the personification of that meme for this podcast. I had an abysmal season betting against the spread last year, to the point that it was just like it was comical. It was a joke, and now I don't even tell you my bets anymore. You just check them on Pickett.
Or when you do, we bet the opposite.
Yeah, I tell you so that you can fade it. No, listen, I have always stood by the line. I am a terrific money line, like pick 'em, better picker. But the spread, I don't know. Maybe I bet too much with my head and I'm stupid, or with my heart and I'm also I don't know. Either way, I finished in last, but we know I did very, very well on my money line bets. I know that I finished right around 65% winning percentage on the season. I don't have units for you. I wasn't that advanced last year. Maybe this year that's something that we'll do. But unfortunately, almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. And we don't do either of those things on this podcast because we only bet against the spread for the most part. And I lost. Tommy, you were pretty competitive. You did a nice job, but unfortunately, Carl is just Carl and blew us out of the water. Had a terrific season. The secret Krabby Patty formula really came to fruition for him. And I think Tommy and I are the casuals and degenerates, but if anybody's closer to touching the sun, Carl, it's you.
Listen, we have kids now. We shouldn't be talking about touching any suns. Let's just say that. It's too early on the podcast to be talking about that.
None of us are
canceled.
None of us are Tom Brady here.
We just have to beep out this whole section. Okay.
Mrs. Bradley's already turned off. The podcast is already off.
Oh my God. I'm going to get a text like, you have a son now. Yes, I do. Great. Well, that's how it went last year. I, for one, am hoping that we all win, because when we all win, we all make money. As much as we like to compete with each other, I would be happy with a winning record, even if I come in third again. So that's what I'm going to root for this year.
And when we win, you, proud listener, also wins.
Exactly.
Listener.
Singular listener.
Well, I assume that people don't have listen parties. So
you know what? Maybe that's what we should do. We should sponsor some listen parties. Maybe a live show.
What have I just done?
Should we take this thing on the road? I mean,
Jesus.
We've grown exponentially. I think one time we had like 12 listeners and only 11 of them were like our moms on different devices. So we might be up to like 4 people that aren't related to us.
This is the year, people. This is the year.
Yeah. We're blowing it like a little dad strength funded by Tommy's Vegas Golden Knights winnings. We're taking the show on the road. Instantly. Well, at least Carl and I still have our babies. All right. Great. Well, now we know how we performed. What we really need to do is look at how the rest of the NFL is going to perform in the 2023 season. Victory lap all around. I would say maybe our biggest win last year was the Eagles. We all pounded the Eagles. We knew they were going to be good. I would say due to sleep deprivation and lack of preparedness, we are not going to nail a pick like that this year.
Wouldn't go so far because I think I had them in the Super Bowl last year, and I think I'm pretty confident in one of my Super Bowl picks again.
All right, Eagles, back to the Super Bowl for Tommy.
No, different teams. Different teams.
Okay. Great. Well, here's how we are going to do this. We're kind of just going to go chronologically for this season preview here. We're going to try and keep this tighter than our typical podcast. We'll see how that works out. I say that now, and 2 hours from now, you'll be cursing my name. But we're going to run down divisional winners, each of the 8 divisions. We're going to give you who we think is going to win. We're also going to talk to you about the teams that we think are going to be good outside of those teams. We'll probably touch on them as we go through the division winners. But those will essentially be our wild card teams. And we're going to make a bold prediction and tell you here is our 7 playoff teams from each conference. A lot of Broncos picks last year, and I'd have to check the tape to see if I was out on them or in. I hope I was out, but spoiler alert, I'm going to be out again. Sorry, Sean Payton. That was probably maybe our biggest L last year. Russell Wilson.
Or me saying hammer Texans over 3.5 wins because I think they finished 2-14.
I think you're right. Great. So we're going to run through each of the divisions. We're going to give you our wild card teams and our full playoff roster. And then we're going to have a little bit of fun because in order to win a major award in the NFL, like an MVP, you probably have to be a good playoff team. So we're going to touch on my favorite thing to talk about way too early every year, which is who is going to win the MVP. And boys, I have a hot take, and you're not going to believe it. Given my history, that's the teaser that I will leave you with.
We might have the same take.
I wouldn't be shocked. We think alike a lot of the time. And then we're going to go into our Final Four, our conference champions, look at conference championship weekend, give you who's going to move on to the Super Bowl, and ultimately who is going to win the Super Bowl and where we think Super Bowl MVP is going to finish. I mean, of course, it's going to be like a quarterback, right? So whatever, Patrick Mahomes, once again. Kidding. And if we have time, because we want to make sure that you hear this before week 1 of the season starts, we're going to wrap up at the end. So look for this in our show notes. We're going to give you the week 1 Thursday Night Football opening game of the year, lines and predictions. Spoiler alert, we are recording this preview the Friday before the season starts. Usually we do our weekly podcast a little bit closer, so there's a little bit less movement on the lines. I'll tell you that again later on, but we're going to do that at the end. So you have it. You heard it here first. It is out there. We are making our week 1 Thursday Night Football picks in advance of the week 1 podcast. And of course, we're going to have fun all along the way. So, boys, what do we say? Should we dive in? Now we're 15 minutes into this.
Let's get to it.
Lovely. We're going to start right at home in the AFC East. A little bit of movement in this conference. Biggest news. The Patriots cut the best quarterback on their roster, Malik Cunningham. Malik Cunningham. And then they cut the second best quarterback on their roster, Bailey Zappi. And then they just signed the third best quarterback on their roster, and Matt Corral. How do you say his name? I don't even know.
I think it's Corral.
First game of the year, they're celebrating Tom Brady, and hopefully he plays because do they even have a – no, I'm kidding. It's Mac Jones. Matt Patricia's gone. Praise the Lord. So we are all hoping that the Mac Jones-Kendrick Bourne connection can come back into play. We're homers, but we love the Patriots draft class. A lot of promising rookies, defense and special teams. We love them. Ezekiel Elliott, does he have anything left in the tank? He's just one of many names that have joined the AFC East this season, including Jalen Ramsey on the Miami Dolphins. Although he's going to miss at least the first couple of months of the season as he recovers from an injury. And then who's that old gray quarterback in New York? Because it's not Zach Wilson anymore. Moms everywhere are very disappointed. What's his name?
Brett
Favre, quarterback of the New York Jets. Joe Namath. Yeah, honestly, maybe they would do just as well with either of those guys.
Might.
Grant, listen, if the Jets do as well as Mississippi did, if they're in bad shape, if it's Brett Favre. Just kidding. It's not him. It's Aaron Rodgers. Crazy. I'll tell you what. I like it. We as Boston sports fans, we don't like New York. We don't like New York teams. The Jets, I guess you could call the Jets a rival. You have to be good and be competitive for it to be a rivalry, which they're not, and they haven't been. But it's more fun when marquee teams are good, especially when you're one of those marquee teams. That's why like producer Dan always gets on me because like what I love for like in the NBA, the Lakers to be terrible every year or the Yankees to be bad every year. Of course I would. But isn't it a little bit more fun when like the Knicks and the Lakers and the Yankees are good? Because then there's some juice. Then there's a little bit of rivalry, right? So I am hoping in that spirit, it's a little sacrilegious of a Boston guy, I'm hoping that Aaron Rodgers has something left in the tank, because it would be fun to see how the New York Jets perform with him under quarterback, under center. And of course, I've already left out the Buffalo Bills, who I think a lot of us picked as our Super Bowl winner last year. We thought they'd be in the mix for sure, at least, right? So maybe we'll talk about this, the most competitive division in football this year. So Tommy, I know that you have takes. I'm going to let you lead off. We don't have to do this for every division, but like, I don't know, let's get our winners. But like, where do we want to rank our division in the AFC East here? Because this is our home division. So maybe we'll do it for this one. And it's pretty competitive. I'm putting you guys on the spot on that one. I didn't prep you for that question, but I think that we can do it. So Tommy, why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, so this division actually kind of reminds me of the AFC West last year, where everybody was talking about how all 4 teams are going to be really good and like it's going to be super competitive, and I think it's going to more so fall. I don't think it's going to fall as flat where like the Broncos and the Raiders were just absolutely terrible. I think that there's just going to be a lot more mediocrity involved. I think that it's pretty clear to me that the Bills are still the cream of the crop in this division. They're my pick to win the division very easily, actually. Miami's going to be more competitive, and then I think the Patriots and the Jets are both going to be in like that 500-ish range at the bottom of the division. So for me, I have Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, Jets in that order. I do agree with your assessment on the Jets and your hypotheticals of like it would be interesting to see what Aaron Rodgers would do with this offense, except we did see what Aaron Rodgers would do with this offense last year, because he brought the exact same personnel over from Green Bay. And guess what? He had his worst season as a professional last year. And now everybody that he brought over is a year older, including himself. So they have a great defense. Green Bay, they have a better defense than Green Bay did, but Green Bay still had a pretty good defense last year, and they weren't a great team. So I think that everybody's just overhyping the Jets. I don't see them being competitive for the division crown. I see them being competitive for a playoff spot. It's just, I think that they're the most overhyped. They're reminding me of like the San Diego Padres, the Broncos of last year. They're like the team that makes the biggest splash in the offseason and then just falls flat to the hype when it comes time to play the actual football on the field. And the pressure on them is just so great that I just don't see them reaching the goals that the public and all the books and even the players themselves have set upon them. And I think it's going to become clear within like the first month, 6 weeks of the season for them.
If I were Tony Reali, and this is around the horn, I would have given you many points. Well done. Well done.
Well,
I like the way you broke that down.
I don't like that show, so I'm actually, I'm probably going to get negative points now. But
Muted.
Immediate mute. All right, so I calculated like my own strength of schedule, and it lines up pretty well with like the strength of schedules based on last season and projected seasons anyway. But I think that AFC East is the hardest division, like Tommy was saying, but that's my personal opinion. He didn't agree with that. He compared it to last year, which is exactly what we talked about.
That would have been a double point. I loved that. I loved that comparison, because this is exactly what we did with the AFC West last year. Yeah, continue.
Right. No, totally. So I think it is going to be a tough division to win. I think, unlike Tommy, the Jets are going to be one of the better teams in the division, but I still have the Bills winning it. I just think that the Bills are more rounded. The addition of Aaron Rodgers, you would think, would improve the offense for the Jets. But again, to all of Tommy's points, like I think the defense is going to be carrying it. I think they're going to be a top 5 defense. Honestly, probably top 3 if they can stay healthy. So I think that the defense is going to carry the Jets, not enough to get them to the top spot of the AFC. So I'm going chalk with the Bills. There's not really good value on it. It's plus 120. And again, with the Jets, I think having a good enough defense, if Aaron Rodgers can make some things happen in that offense. I mean, their offense was awful last year, which showed they were the worst record in the AFC East last year. So they're going to actually benefit from playing worse teams compared to the other teams in the division, which is going to be good for them. But at the end of the day, it's still one of the tougher divisions to based on strength of schedule. So Bills for me, number 1 team in the AFC East, barely better than the Jets. And then I think Dolphins and Patriots. I think Dolphins are close to being a double-digit win team still, if not getting to that 10-win mark. And then surprisingly, even though they're a home team, Patriots for me 500 or below, which sucks. Unless they can turn things around or prove it early in the season. But again, to me, they have the hardest strength of schedule. Not just for the division, but for the league overall. They have the hardest strength of schedule, so it's going to be tough to get wins. But if they can get wins and they're proving that they can, then this could all change as we start going through the season. Things are going to happen. We'll have a mid-season pod and we'll reflect on all these predictions. But I'm saying it here: if the Patriots are not doing well at the midway point, then it's going to stay that way. If the Patriots are, fighting, winning games, and they can improve themselves, I think that they could be a team to squeak into a wild card spot, but definitely not win that division.
I hate to say it. I'm pretty much with you guys on the Bills. It's kind of by default, but I'm going to go a little bit against the grain here. So, okay, just quickly looking at kind of some consensus Vegas win totals here. Patriots over-under is at 7.5. Vegas pretty much thinks they're going to win 7 games. They should go 7-10. The Dolphins, where'd these Dolphins go? Well, let's go with the Jets. The Jets over-under 9.5. The Dolphins as well, right at 9.5. If I can find them right here, 9.5. And then the Bills over-under 10.5. It looks like Vegas is predicting a 10-win season.
That's low.
Carl, what do you think?
So for me, when I run my projected win totals and I compare it to Vegas wins, I have no value on any of the teams in this division. I obviously have leans one way or another, but for me, Bills, Jets, Dolphins, they might get to their win total. They might not. It's right on the money. Yep. Patriots, even though they're a lower win total, I still have them again right on the cusp of that 500 mark. So for me, every team in this is a stay off of the over under on their win totals.
And I get it because I'm pretty sure. I mean, you don't quote me on this, but I think all 4 teams are in the top 7 of strength of hardest schedules.
Hardest. Yep. Exactly.
So I'll tell you this. I actually think the Patriots improved. And I do think this is the perfect Bill Belichick team. I think they have done everything for their quarterback to set him up for success other than have a good offensive line, which we don't actually know what that offensive line looks like yet because they've had so many injuries throughout camp. So we'll see. Bill Belichick treats the first month of the season as extended training camp anyway. And if that's just a time to figure out that offensive line rotation, get guys healthy, and then set them up, and they can, split, go 2-2, maybe 3 and if you can avoid a losing record in September, I think you're in a good spot, right? But the problem is everyone else seemingly got better. Here's what I'm going to tell you. I actually think the Jets have a chance to win this division. I can't believe I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the Jets. I'm going with the Jets to win the AFC East because let me just run through this really fast for you. I think the Jets, to Tommy's point, Aaron Rodgers brought over a similar supporting cast from Green Bay. And to bolster you, his offensive line does not look great either. I'm not convinced that there won't be a trade for them to grab somebody, although that doesn't really happen a ton in the NFL, right? But even though the Packers said they weren't trading David Bakhtiari, would we be shocked to see him move to New York? No, I don't think so. The addition of Garrett Wilson, I think, should be on par with getting a Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams is obviously more experienced. He's better. But now you have a number 1 target and everything else kind of ripples out, right? You have a real threat at wide receiver. The running game is going to be terrific with Dalvin Cook, right? We'll see what Breece Hall can do when he comes back. He already looks good moving in camp. Say what we will about Robert Saleh. I think he galvanizes that team. The defense is good. They're going to be good. The only thing they were missing last year was a quarterback and really a competent offensive coordinator. And although Nathaniel Hackett was the butt of most of our jokes as the head coach of the Broncos last year, he's a good offensive coordinator and he's Aaron Rodgers' guy, right? So they know each other inside and out. I just think there's too much good in favor of the Jets. And if you give Aaron Rodgers great field position, a terrific defense, a number one wide receiver, and his guy at offensive coordinator, plus an equally probably still very good running back in Dalvin Cook and a weapon in Breece Hall when he gets back, I mean, that's equal to or better than Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, right? So I just think the Jets have what it takes. Let's look at the Bills really quickly. Does anybody believe in Gabe Davis? Does anybody believe that James Cook can, I don't know, make that jump this year that he needs to make and stay healthy? I love that they got Damian Harris for cheap money, but when's the last time he played 16 games? There's a lot of potential for them to be good, but the Bills just can't seem to put it all together. A lot of people love Josh Allen as their, I don't know, value MVP pick this year. And I said it last year, and I'm going to say it again this year. The Bills need to prove it to me that they can keep it together all year, including in the playoffs. And once again, they didn't do it. And I just think you've got Stephon Diggs unhappy, a lot of question marks in that offense. Von Miller's hurt. That defense continually gets hurt. I mean, DeMar Hamlin's going to play. And I'm sorry, is anybody else terrified about that? Okay, let's move on. The Dolphins, Tua.
That's the biggest question mark. Yeah, that's why that was my biggest, I'm not sure where they were placed in the division, because it's entirely dependent on how many games he can play.
If you told me Tua retired after week 1 because he got his head rocked again and had a seizure on the field, I would believe you. If you told me he played 17 games and had the season of his life, I wouldn't believe you. But if he does play 17 games, he could probably have easily a career best season, right? But I don't have faith in it. So I've talked too much already. I'm going to go with the Jets to win the division. I still think the Bills are better than the Patriots, but I think the Patriots are going to exceed that low win total. I just think they could be sneaky good, and they have, although a tough strength of schedule, they've got that third place. Was it third? They finished in third, right? Yeah, I'm not crazy. Third place schedule. And I just think the Dolphins, there's too many risks. It's all about Tua. And as much as I will tell you later in the season when he plays that I like Mike White, I don't feel great about Mike White or Tua. So I'm going to put the Dolphins in last. I think they're going to be disappointing. There's too much hype around the Miami Dolphins. All right, I went too long. Carl, you've had your hand raised forever, so.
Oh, no, I was just going to make a point. Last season when I was doing the predictions, I was really low on the Seahawks, and they surprised me. So I'm hoping that the Patriots this year are my Seahawks from last year. If they can, get the ball rolling. They were in a tough division. The Seahawks were, or so we thought. The Rams ended up falling out. But we thought that was going to be kind of tough with the Rams, the 49ers, and the Seahawks. And the Seahawks were actually surprising. So if the Patriots can be that team, I would love that. I'm not expecting it, but that would be my comparison from this year to last year. That's the only kind of saving grace for us Patriots fans, is if they can get on a roll.
I think the Patriots should be competitive. They should be in the mix to finish above 500. I'm not telling you it's going to be even 10-7, but they should be in the mix to go 9-8. And I think that's going to be right in the mix for that 7th and final wild card playoff spot. I think the defense is going to be good. I think it's everything that Belichick wants to coach. It's talented, coachable, great young defenders, a quarterback that has the offensive coordinator that knows him. He gets his favorite weapon in Kendrick Bourne back. Laugh if you will, but I just think these little things matter, and maybe they're all small improvements, right? Ezekiel Elliott, what does he have left in the tank? But if he can be a goal line monster, he scored 12 touchdowns last year, but Tony Pollard was the guy. So why can't Ramondre Stevenson be the guy, but get spelled? We saw a LeGarrette Blount 17 touchdown season, 18 touchdown season with the Patriots. You tell me that can't be the Zeke role?
I need it for.
Right, exactly. So I think there's enough small improvements that we're going to see this team perform better. But I don't think they're the class of the division. I think there's too much talent elsewhere. So I'm gonna pick them to finish third. This is my order: Jets to win, and that's bold. I'm gonna look stupid in 2 months maybe. But Jets, Bills, Patriots, Dolphins. That's my AFC East, and I'm gonna take the over on 7.5. It's kind of low. I'll be dumb and I'll push it to 8.5, and I'll be sweating out win number 9 around Thanksgiving for the last month of the year. I think I lost that bet last year as well, because I moved their win total up by 1 and I lost it by 1. Classic Pat fashion, but if I mean, I don't know. That's what I'm going to do for fun because I have
That's
faith.
what I'm doing with the Patriots on FanDuel because they moved theirs down to 6.5, and I'm pushing it up to 7.5 and taking the over.
That's terrific, right? A great note. We have historically been DraftKings people, and for the sake of consistency, we're gonna. When you hear us talk about these things, we're probably talking DraftKings. We will note when we are picking elsewhere, but shop around now that it's legal in Massachusetts, and we don't have to cross the border. You and I, Tommy, to go to New Hampshire, and all we have is DraftKings. We have options. We are now shopping books at times. We have our bankroll spread out, so a really great note. Cool. Any other thoughts on the AFC East?
No.
Lovely. Then we will move on here to the AFC North. Cincinnati Bengals, seemingly the class of the division. Baltimore Ravens. Lamar's a rich man now. Has number one wide receiver. Can the Ravens put it together? Are the Steelers going to be better? What do the Browns look like? Carl, this is like the other half of your household. So why don't you lead us off for the AFC North?
Yeah, short and sweet. I think the Bengals are one of the top couple teams in the league. So I do have them winning the division here. Ravens are going to be pretty close behind, in my opinion. I think the Ravens are going to be top 10, both offense and defense. So top 10 overall. I think they do get over double digits. I don't say easily. I guess it's never easy to win in the NFL, but I think their win total is probably going to be around 12. So if you're looking at like taking a flyer, you can take them to win the North at plus 235. In terms of like their projected total by Vegas, it's 8.5. So I would take the over on that for their win total, but I don't think they're going to have enough to beat Cincinnati. So Cincinnati is my pick to win the division, but Ravens are pretty close second. I do like their over on their win total. So if that's something you're interested in, you could take the over on their win total. If they win the division, awesome. They're going to have to get to that number anyway. So maybe that's something to look at. You don't even have to win your division, but still get over that win total of, I think it was 8.5 is what I said for the Ravens.
What's better value? The plus 235 to win the division, or it's probably that, right? Versus the over 8.5, depending on where you move it.
Right. So, I mean, if you're looking at like value, if you're going to take the over on the win total, you're probably just getting even money because it's a set line. If you want to bump it up to like 10, I mean, you probably get close to the value of this. So if you think they can get to that 10 win mark or more, I'd have to see like if you slide it specifically. But I think over 10, if you slide it and it's closer to 235, I think that's a better bet than winning the division overall, because then you have to compete with the other teams versus like having that win total. Because if, let's say the Ravens win 12 or 13 games, but the Bengals win 13, 14, you've easily covered your over 8.5 or 9 or 10 or whatever you put it to, but you still lost that money because Bengals just did better. You know what I mean? So if you can take that other factor out, I would say maybe take a look at the line for win total and then bump it up if you want to. Like I said, I think 12 is a good number for them. I mean, they could easily not get to 12, but I think like best case scenario, they win 15. I mean, that's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, I think they still get to 9. But
that is this the Ravens or the Bengals?
Ravens.
The Ravens.
I'm saying like absolute everything comes together. Best case scenario. I think they still. I mean, they're not. They don't have like a tough schedule. It's kind of middle of the road. They obviously have to play the Bengals twice. They play their division. It's not. I'm not saying they're winning 15 games. Don't put that in the record. But I'm saying like absolute best case scenario, they could probably win like 14, 15 games. And I think worst case scenario, they're still getting over 8. So I think 8.5 is a little low for the win total.
For reference, DraftKings basically has the line at 10. They're favored at over 9.5. And then we go plus odds. We go plus 100 at over 10.5. So 10's that number, that magic number for them. I like looking at the value here, right? So we're talking about 11.5, they're plus 175, 12.5, they're plus 310. So that means they got to win 13 games. Here's what I'll tell you. I think that this is a competitive division. I think I agree with you that the Ravens and the Bengals are going to be right there on top. So I kind of like I like the value of saying Ravens to win the division at plus 235 more, because then you're getting better value than them to win 10.5 or 11.5 games, or over 12. Like when you get to over 12.5, that's when you get better value. But do you want to bet on the Ravens to win 13 games, or do you want to bet on them to go 12-5 and have the Bengals also go 12-5, but like they win in a tiebreaker? Because doesn't that feel like the most likely scenario? And it's exactly where we were pretty much last year heading into the playoffs. So I kind of like the value of Ravens plus 235. So I'm glad you said that, Carl, because that kind of stood out to me. So you have Bengals, you have Ravens, but you like the Ravens. Spoiler, they're definitely going to be one of your wild card teams, I'm assuming. Where do you have the Steelers and the Browns finishing?
Excuse me, Steelers and Browns right around 500. I think the Steelers could be a really improved team, but I don't know, a little bit higher on the Browns, and maybe I'm just biased because my wife is a Steelers fan and we can't be rooting for the Steelers in this household and root for the Patriots, especially with a new baby. Like I can't show my, Steelers fandom at all because we need all Patriots all the time. So
what do you do with the onesies and that? Do you alternate Sundays? Do you hope that they're playing it? I mean, they typically both play at 1:00. Do you change at halftime? What do you do?
Yeah, he'll be wearing his Mac Jones jersey every Sunday. Every time the Patriots are even on. Anytime there's football on the TV, it could be college football. He's wearing his Mac Jones jersey.
Okay,
just buy Steelers diapers.
Exactly, and baby wipes.
Yeah. Well done, Tommy. All right, so you picked the Steelers to finish last in the division. Browns.
Yeah,
third.
I'm pretty much right in line with like the odds order: Bengals, Ravens, Browns, Steelers for me.
Cool. Okay. Tommy, hit me with yours. Do you have more to add? What's your order? Give it to me.
Yeah, I actually have the Ravens winning this division. I do like the Bengals obviously to make the playoffs. I think that they're one of the better teams in the conference, but it's just I mean Burrow's going to start the season. Obviously, I just don't know if he's going to be 100% to start the season. I don't know how long it's going to take him to get back to 100% healthy.
Mm-hmm.
The Joe Mixon situation is really odd. He had all the legal drama in the offseason, and the way that he's handled it since it's all been settled, where he's only talking to specific reporters and he's taken like a cone of silence over different, if you are with different media organizations, it's just he's very even though it's all settled, he's very clearly distracted by it. So there's just something just seems off with that. So there's just off-field stuff going on over there. I like that the contract situation with Lamar is over, and like even though he got his money, clearly he was taking time off last year because he didn't get the contract. Now he has it, so I think his sole focus is on football now. And I like that they finally gave him like options to throw to, so they can finally have the complete dual threat at QB. Their defense is always causing problems for other teams, so I think that they're the clear winners to win the division. So I really like taking that future odd there. I think the Steelers are going to be a vastly improved team. Kenny Pickett looks really good in camp. He looked really good in the preseason. If you had to guess how many touchdowns Deontay Johnson had last year, he had 88 receptions. How many touchdowns do you think he had?
I know the answer to this. So Carl, Carl can answer.
Let's see, 88 receptions. He probably had 6 touchdowns.
He had 0 touchdowns last year.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
So there's going to be massive regression for that.
Positive regression. Another question for you guys related to that. How many players in NFL history have had that many receptions and 0 touchdowns?
Was he the first?
He was.
Okay.
He was.
I was going to say 6 again.
Like statistically impossible, essentially. I mean, not because it happened, but otherwise. So
I think that they're going to be, as long as they split the running back duties, because I think I forget their backup's name right now, but he's looked a lot better than Najee Harris so far in the preseason. But as long as they their tight, I don't know why the tight end name is, Pat. I know him.
Londonderry Zone, shout out New Hampshire.
His name couldn't be escaping me. He's going to take another step. Their defense is obviously the steel curtain is always going to be there. So I think that they're going to be a vastly improved team. I think that this division as a whole is probably the best, most competitive division in the conference. Deshaun Watson's going to be improved. He's not going to be as bad as that he showed last year. I don't think he's going to be as good as he showed in Houston, but I think he's going to be better than he was a bottom 5 QB last year. I don't think he's a bottom 5 QB. But my ranking is for the division is Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, Browns in that order. But I think all 4 teams are going to be probably above 500 actually.
All right, so I'm a little conflicted, and I'm going to be brief with this, believe it or not. I pretty much completely agree with you, Tommy. Weird. My Lamar thing, quickly, like last year, I was like, I don't know. They're going to, like, remember I was like, Lamar could be sneaky MVP, and he was for like a month because they're going to let him ball out to earn that or to earn that contract. And then the whole knee thing, like I almost like we see contract year guys typically like super overperform and then they get the contract and they take a step back. Lamar, and maybe I'm giving him too much credit because I always get intoxicated by him and the Ravens, and I regret it and I yell like 3 weeks into this podcast. But I kind of feel like he's the guy that's like, I got my money, so now I feel good and like my anxiety's down. I can calm down. I can go and I can ball out. I can be loyal to you. And like, let's go get this done. I agree with everything you said. I love that they have the weapons there. Like Odell Beckham feels like a Brandon Lloyd Patriots kind of thing, like 800 yards, 8 touchdowns type of a thing, where you were like, okay, like how did you become like what's Odell at this point, right? Like, but I think he could be that if he's healthy for the Ravens. Maybe not the number one guy. I love the potential of Zay Flowers. Mark Andrews is the guy, right? So all the pieces are there. It's just really, really hard for me to pick against the Bengals. So here's what I don't know what to do. I want to pick the Bengals, but I just told you I love Carl's value of picking the Ravens to win the division if you're going to bet on a win total anyway, because that's where I think it's going to fall. So I don't know. I think I'm going to stick to my guns with the Bengals because ultimately I believe in Joey B and that type of quarterback play, as good and talented as Lamar is. So I'm going to go Bengals, Ravens. I think the Steelers took a step forward. It's just not enough. It's kind of similar to the Patriots, right? I think like marginal improvements across the board. Year 2, Kenny Pickett, Deontay Johnson, positive regression. Jaylen Warren's going to get into the mix with Najee, right? Najee's not going to have 300 touches again, I don't think. I hope. Mike Tomlin's never finished below 500, right? So I think they're going to be third. I don't like the Browns. I don't trust them. It's like the Bills, prove it to me, but like they're less talented. Deshaun would have to do a lot to carry that team. So I'm going to go Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, Browns in that order. I think the Bengals and the Ravens are going to be playoff teams.
Uh-huh. I love your point about the receivers in Baltimore too, because I think that Zay Flowers and OBJ are going to combine for like a number one receiver, where like OBJ is going to be like for the first like 5 weeks or so, he's going to be the number one wide receiver. And then like as he starts to fall off because of his age is when Zay Flowers is going to like learn the offense and everything. That's where you're going to see his upswing in the offense. He's going to take over that role, or OBJ gets hurt or something.
Yeah. I think to be successful, they're going to have to plant their flag in a number one guy, and it's going to be easy. Like I feel like Odell could be a safety blanket, except for the fact that Mark Andrews already is that safety blanket. So if they can work an offensive system where Odell gets enough touches, Zay gets enough exposure, I was going to say like explosion because he's the explosion guy on the outside. Zay gets enough exposure. I think he morphs into the number one guy by the end of the year. Odell's going to be like that veteran, like he was with the Rams, right? Like he didn't have to be the number one guy. That was Cooper Kupp. He understood the role. I think he gets that at this stage of his career. Mark Andrews is the safety blanket. There's a lot of good things happening with the Ravens, and I hope I'm not screaming about them in week 3, losing money. Okay.
We're taking the Bengals, so.
I am officially taking the Bengals. I'm probably going to put some cheddar on that Ravens to win the division, though, at the sake of my podcast bet. Or maybe I fade myself, and I reverse jinx it into winning. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. All right, let's move on to the AFC South, Ryan Tannehill, still a quarterback in this division. Don't love that. I feel like there's a clear favorite. Tommy, I'm going to let you lead us off here. Who do we like in the AFC South?
Yeah, this is the tale of two divisions where it's like there's a clear divide between contenders and pretenders. I think the Jaguar, like you can even make a divide between the two contenders because I think it's the Jaguars. I think there's a divide, and then there's the Titans who are probably going to be in the hunt for the wild card, and then there's a giant divide between them, and then the Colts and the Texans are going to be in the hunt for Caleb Williams at the top overall pick next year. So for me, that's the order is very clearly Jaguars, then Titans, then honestly Texans third and Colts fourth, because I think the Colts are just the Colts are just a trash bag of an organization right now, coming off of their GM saying that Andrew Luck didn't need a good running back to have a good career when he had to retire at 29 due to injuries.
Yeah. I don't like the Colts. I don't like most teams in that division. Give me an order. Give me a rundown.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I just did. It's Jaguars, okay. Titans, Texans, Colts for me.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. Okay, man. What do you think?
So, Jaguars for sure, number one. My semi-hot take, I guess you could decide if it's like lukewarm or like surface of the sun, is that there is not going to be any other team in the division above 500. I think the Titans don't get to 7-8 wins max. Colts, Texans, obviously not great. And then I'm looking at Jacksonville's schedule. They do have, I mean, they're easily making the playoffs, in my opinion. I think there's no shot that any team comes close in the South. But I'm looking at their schedule, and they have Kansas City week 2, but it's at home. So I'm not saying it's winnable, but I'm saying that helps them. All right. They have to go to Buffalo week 5. I think that's probably a loss. Could be a competitive game, but it's probably a loss. They have to go to Pittsburgh, which week 8 is not too late in the season, so hopefully weather's not a factor there, but Pittsburgh can be a tough place to play. I still think they win that game. San Francisco at home, again, tough team, but they get to play them at home. Cincinnati, week 13, tough game, but get to play them at home. Baltimore, week 15, tough game, get to play them at home. So a lot of their games that they have against these tougher opponents, they have the advantage of home field. So I'm thinking, again, if they can win even just half of those games, they should be able to take care of most of the other games on their schedule. If they can take care of those games that they have at home with that home field advantage, and I think they can make a splash in the AFC this year. Yes. Doesn't mean they're going to go far in the playoffs because, again, you don't always get that benefit of playing those teams at home in the playoffs. But you never know. The record indicates their home field advantage. If they can win those games against those tough opponents because they have the home field advantage during the season, they can get a top spot and have home field advantage in the playoffs, and that could help them. So
the Jaguars almost took out the Chiefs last year, and by the way, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
They almost lost to the Chargers, though. They had to have a huge comeback in the playoffs.
Crazy comeback. Very true. Very true. So what's your order, Carl? You like the Jaguars, and then
Jaguars, and then just a dumpster fire at the bottom. Yeah, probably. If I had to guess, probably Titans, Colts, Texans. Even Colts, Titans, Texans. I don't know. I'm not high on the Titans this year, but at this point, I'm taking the under for all the other teams' win totals, regardless of what that number is.
I like how everybody's talking about Anthony Richardson from like a fantasy football perspective, that he's going to be a good quarterback, not realizing that he threw for 55% accuracy in college. That's impossible to do in the NFL level.
My brother-in-law is a big Florida fan and does not understand why the talent's there, but my God, I don't know.
He'll be a top 5 fantasy quarterback if he plays the full season, but he's going to have like a 40% completion percentage.
Yeah. He's going to have to run for like 20 touchdowns for that to happen. And with Jonathan Taylor,
he will
gone. Maybe he will. Maybe he's the only guy that will score touchdowns. Yeah. Jaguars. And then I agree with the dumpster fire. I guess I'm taking the Titans second by default. Carl, I don't think it's that hot of a take. Although some might disagree. Titans maybe 7-10 at best. And I guess I'll go with the Colts and then the Texans because I actually weirdly, although I just dissed Anthony Richardson, I think I like him right now a little bit more than CJ Stroud. Just from a developmental perspective. I don't know why. I feel like the whole time I was like CJ Stroud's the better prospect. And now, I don't know, on September 1st, I feel like it's Anthony Richardson has a higher floor this season. We'll see. No idea whose team is going to be better. Maybe the Texans will surprise us. They were like oddly competitive in bad games last year. Anyway,
I think they have a better defense.
Yeah, a little bit. But ultimately, I don't think anybody else is going to be really competitive. We'll be kicking ourselves, right? Carl's going to pick the Titans against the spread for the last like 8 weeks in a row of the regular season because he always does. I'm like, no way, the Titans stink, and I'm going to go 0-8, and Carl's going to go 8-0 because that's what he does with Mike Vrabel Titans teams somehow. If DeAndre Hopkins has anything left in the tank, I don't know. We'll see. And Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, for that matter. I mean, just so many question marks. I don't like them, but that's fine. Jags, Titans, Colts, Texans for me. Okay, let's move on to the AFC West, where the question is ultimately, can anybody dethrone Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? Carl, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go with no on that one. The Chargers are honestly, like, I think they get to double digits, but I think they're a middle of the road team. I mean, they caught a good run last year. Got knocked out by the Jags, like we just talked about last year in the playoffs. But the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I mean, everyone's going to be gunning for them, so every game they play is probably going to be a tough matchup. Last year, I did call Colts over the Chiefs early in the season, so anything could happen. But I think if you're looking at it long term, I think they're the top favorite to win the AFC for a reason. They're favored to win the AFC West. Don't like the value at 165. I would rather just bet every single game for the Chiefs if I thought they were going to win that many games, whether the odds are good or bad. So I'm going Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders. Sorry, Jimmy G. But Broncos and Raiders, I don't think get to 500 either. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. The Chiefs for me at this point are just like I'm not going to bet against them until they prove me wrong. It's pretty much a same thing with like Travis Kelce. Like he's doing things at the tight end position that at his age that you've just never seen before. So like there's no point in like trying to get out a year early as opposed to like I'd rather just be a year late at this point because I'm staying away from Travis Kelce because he's 31 and no tight end has ever had 1,000-yard season at 31, and he's now done it at 32 and 33. The Chiefs they won the Super Bowl last year, and I think they had either like the second or third youngest roster in the entire league. So like even though there's not a lot of named guys on the roster, it looks like weak on name value wise. They have guys that are growing into their positions and everything. So I'm just going to stick with it and go chalk here and pick them to win the division. I have the same order as Carl. I think the Chargers are going to finish in second. I think they'll be in the wild card hunt. I think the Broncos improved just because they got rid of Nathaniel Hackett. I think Sean Payton is a massive improvement for coaching, and I think Russell Wilson takes a tiny step forward, but he's still pretty old. So I don't think he goes back to the Seahawks days. And as long as Josh McDaniels is in Oakland and not playing the Patriots and Jacoby Myers isn't helping him be a secret agent, giving him wins, I think the Raiders are just gonna languish at the bottom of the division there. So for me, it's Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders.
I'm gonna just agree with you. It's the Chiefs, and maybe this is my hot take, maybe it's not. Is I don't think that there's a second playoff team in this division. We'll see. Maybe I wind up with the Chargers at number 7. Would not be shocked, right? But again, Chargers are another gotta prove it to me team where you guys said it. The Chiefs are I'm gonna bet on you until you prove me wrong because they just continually figure it out and put it together. And as much as we loved to dump on Andy Reid year after year when he was, he lost a Super Bowl in Philly to Bill Belichick. He lost a bunch of conference championship games to Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. He's not going to play Bill Belichick in the playoffs this year. Or if he is, like the roster's not good enough, right? If it's a 2 versus 7 or a 1 versus 7 or something like that, it's not going to happen. So Chiefs, just figure it out. And Chiefs figure it out. Chargers, it feels like a 7, 8, 9 win campaign in the mix for a playoff spot, but then I don't know, ultimately fall short or lose in the first round of the playoffs. Eventually, like, Brandon Staley's got to go. And I don't know, maybe a new offensive coordinator will help them, but like, what are we going to do with the defense? Are the wide receivers going to stay healthy? Is Austin Eckler ultimately happy? Can he stay healthy again? Are they gambling because they know something about his health that we don't? I don't know. So I don't think it matters. Broncos, no disrespect to Sean Payton, but that's a mess. And the Raiders are the Raiders. So Jimmy G, I just don't think the roster's good enough. Sorry. Yeah. I'll go Chiefs, chalk. We'll go chalk here. Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that does it for the AFC. And I think, boys, we're going to wrap it up here for now because we've already been talking your heads off. We got to catch our breath. And then we want to give you, I mean, it's us. We want to give you a nice amount of time talking about the NFC. So be sure to come back for part 2. We're going to talk about the NFC divisions, who's going to win those divisions. We're going to recap the AFC, what we like for you, and then we get into the good stuff, our playoff teams, our Final Four, our Super Bowl champions, and our MVP, and maybe a little sprinkle of some more fun. All right. Until then, bye.
Good luck at your local sportsbook.
Let's ride.
Let's ride.
Oh, yeah. We got to get them all out now.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
Great. All right, good job, boys.